So right here we have Sam Fisher, we got Splinter Cell, and we got this really short beat. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Really short and precise. When you have short and precise notes like that, you usually want to go with a fade in, fade out effect. And all you do with a fade in, fade out is very simple. I'm just going to show it right here. Come on, Vegas. Why don't you get moving? I know I'm probably talking really fast, but I'm trying not to make this video too long. All you do is you go to this little tiny blue triangle and you drag, and there it is. That is your fade in, fade out to black. That is all it is. Now, what I did here is very important. I put fade out right here at the end of this clip and fade in on this clip, fade out here and fade in. And then you'll notice that I only did fade in for the rest of them. The reason why is because this is going to be drawn out ever so slightly longer, but it's going to be more prominent. So if you're going to be doing a series of the same effect, it can get monotonous, of course, if you do it too much and if you don't mix up the clips. But the thing is if you want people to notice it, notice that you're going with that beat, make the first ones prominent, and the rest of them, even though they're shorter, will be pretty much just as prominent because they're expecting it. They're subconsciously expecting it. They hear the dun 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 dun, and they see those first 2 or 3 slightly dragged out more fade-ins, fade-outs. They're expecting to see that the rest of the time. And you want to make them shorter because you want to make them as short as possible because you don't want it to flash too long because it detracts from the clip. So you want to make it as short as you possibly can with them still seeing it. And to do that, you make it really short and you make the first 2 more prominent. So let's move on a little bit. Now you're probably hearing in the back, wow, wow, something like that, the bubble effect. I did not do that because it's going slow right now. It's going pretty slow. And we want to introduce everything. And we want the viewers to be able to see it. Just do not, like with your introduction, try to think of it this way. You do not need to have every single video effect go along with every single beat and every single note. You don't have to. You are introducing what the channel is about. Once you've introduced what the channel is about, go crazy. Go absolutely crazy. Now this one is a little strange. This is called opacity. I basically have 4 tracks that I used. Let's move up. Come on, Sony Vegas. You're going really freaking slow. Okay. Very nice. This is opacity. Typically when you use opacity, it depends upon how dark or how light the clips are. But here's how you do it. All you do is go to the top of the clip and you'll see, look, it's got a little pointer finger. Click, hold, and drag down. Probably to about 30% is probably about where you want to go because then you can see both. Here's the reason why I chose this. First, obviously, I chose it because I just automatically save because I am paranoid. Is because it's introducing another game that is on BadHabit's channel. It's also introducing a character, too. So you'll notice that most of these, all around here, is introducing characters and stuff, and introducing maybe like a monster like on here. But the look on her face is almost, she's got this glazed look in her eyes. And it's almost like she's contemplating. And to add to that contemplation, I used a scene of like calmness where she's sitting there on the railing, and she's like gazing out at the city. You don't see the city, but she's gazing out at something. She is enamored by something. And so I took that glazed look in her eyes and stuff like that, the look of contemplation, and I mixed it with a look of, I want to say, fascination and awe at what she is seeing. And also with opacity, make sure that these 2 characters are not on top of each other, obviously, or you won't be able to see them anyway. But having one zoomed in, having one clip zoomed in on her slightly more than another, always works better with opacity. So think about it this way. The one that you're changing the opacity with will always be on the top one, the top track, above this track. And on the bottom here, on the bottom track, you want, if you're going to have 2 clips with the character on both clips, you want this one to be zoomed in on the character slightly more on the bottom track, and zoomed out more with the character on the top track. Just remember this. Like, come back to this video if you don't quite understand it. It's very difficult to explain. Sometimes you just get a feeling for it. But that's how you want to do it as far as like doing characters. So opacity at about 30% is good. And you want to, obviously, right here, if you do it right here, the fade in, if you drag it, it automatically does it for you right there. It'll automatically adjust the opacity for you. It's very nice. So that's why I did it. That's a very complicated one. It's when you see a certain clip, you just when you've edited a long time, I've edited since high school, you start to get a feel for characters. You start to understand their emotions a little bit better. Like that emotion of just being completely awestruck by something, completely enamored by something, just it worked better because she is contemplating. And it's almost like having her thoughts in the background. Right there. It's like it's like a thought of herself, like she's having like a personal contemplation about her own self. Very complicated, I know, very deep, but it's effective. Let's move along. Again, this is the making of the video too, so it's not necessarily just about the video effects. Here is an interesting one, very important. You'll notice the with that scene with Batman standing up. Now, it's at the end of this, when it goes down, it disappears. So I thought to myself, okay, it's vanishing and slowly vanishing. So I want to make this clip of Batman to slowly vanish. So I thought of like almost like if you have like I thought of fading out, but then I thought of something called blur, and it's called Gaussian blur. I'm going to show you where it is right here. Gaussian blur. Click on light blur. You're going to do this is how you're going to probably want to do it. If you're going to try something like this, I highly recommend you try it this way. This was all the same clip before I split it. What you want to do is you want to take the light blur, drag it on top before you split the clips. If you do it after you split the clips, you're going to have to drag it to each and every one, and that's a pain in the frickin' ass. So you don't want to do that. So basically what I did was it's fading out. And you'll notice here in video event effects, you have an option to change the horizontal range or the vertical range. Here's what horizontal does. Does it that way. Now let's look at what vertical does. Stretches it all upwards. The reason why I did not stretch it upwards is because it's disappearing. I don't want to stretch it out. Horizontal makes it look like it's being compressed. And when you think of compression, you think of things pressing together. And then if you press hard enough, you can practically press it into nothingness, is how I thought of it. So you're having it fade out, and here's how you want to do Gaussian blur. That was my explanation of it. Very quick, I know, but I can get into more detail in it later if you guys want more detail on something later on with a certain video effect or transition. Started with 0.27. You can still see Batman. He's still recognizable, so we started with 0.27. Then we went to this one, video event effects. I still kept it at 0.27 just because I wasn't quite sure. I wanted to drag it out a little bit more. Video event effects went to 0.39, then the next one went to 0.44. So it's starting to go up about 0.005 now. You're just going to go up little by little by little by little by little. It's a long and tedious process, I know, but in order to get it to flow correctly, you need to break it into small pieces and just bring the bar up. Just bring this bar up little by little by little. Very small bits, 0.005 bits probably each time. This dissolve, I'm probably not going to even talk about. This one is just overly complicated, and you're rarely going to use this. The reason why I use this is because I will actually show you what it is. It is a transition, and let's see where it is. Dissolve. This is called a subtractive dissolve. Basically what it did was, I was compressing this. I thought to myself, well, I want to reassemble it, and I want to reassemble the parts into a different form. So I took the subtractive dissolve, and the reason why I could use it is because you want to make sure in the clip, when you use subtractive dissolve, when you use that, you want to make sure that there are bright colors and dark colors. Because the problem is, if it's just dark, it'll pretty much disappear, and nothing will be noticeable. If everything's too light, everything's too noticeable, and it just looks bright. So the thing is like you'll notice like the slight bright colors. He's got the orange on his mask. You'll notice the lights right here. You'll notice another light. You'll see like the lights shining on here. And you'll notice that you see those light colors a lot more. Lots more. And it looks really freaking cool, doesn't it? So make sure when you're using this that you have that rare time where you have a bunch of different bright colors and dark colors. That's when you want to use it. So that one I'm not going to get too much into. That was just a personal preference. I will teach you guys about it a little bit more if you so desire. Just let me know. This is about clip choice right now. We are reaching the rising action of this video. You hear, oh, we're starting the rising action. And I figured, what better way to start the rising action than with a dramatic entrance from Deathstroke? He's going into this roll, and just as it's going, ow, just as he's saying that, he's landing on the ground, he's going into his roll. And then all of a sudden, and then he's up, and then you're going to see this. Let's backtrack a little bit. Oh, and then you got the little TV simulator effect, and the reason why I did it this way, I will show you why and how I did it. I will show you the settings. You got that TV kind of sound, you got that techno-y kind of sound. So I took the line sync, made it normal, interlacing. I put it up a little bit just to make it look a little more TV, like more like a TV. Aperture grill, just kind of left it alone. Scan phasing alone, vertical sync. The reason why I chose not to, now you're probably wondering, actually, let me get back to this. You're probably wondering why the line sync is at 1.0. Why didn't I just, like, you know, leave it alone? Why didn't I just, I mean, it doesn't matter if we see it. Well, it really does matter. Because we want to see, right here, it's got a much deeper sound to that techie sound. Like, it was going, like, when we were hearing that down kind of sounds, it was higher pitched. When you have a deeper kind of sound, you want to make the interlacing darker. So think of it this way. If you have higher notes, maybe you want something lighter, or you want to see something more. If you've got something darker, you want to deepen that darkness in the clip itself. So if it's getting a deeper kind of sound, deepen that darkness on the clip. And this is just a personal preference right here, but I think it works swimmingly. I think it works great when it's deeper, a deeper kind of TV simulator sound, like the dome kind of sound, much deeper. Typically, line sync at 1.0 and just changing the vertical sync is probably the best way to go. Just saying, it just seems to fit more. I've tested it for a while. It just seems to. Now here's one of my favorite parts to edit. Put a little bit of a shake there because it was just kind of like a little bit. Wasn't really worth doing a TV simulator because it was very high pitched and it was very short. So since it was so short, I just put a little shake in there. Again, it went really short and precise. Now, you'll notice this transition. Very, very important transition here. I'm going to just take note of this just because this was, not to brag or anything, I thought it was pretty clever because I'm surprised I even noticed this. You'll notice here, they're fighting. And all of a sudden, goes into a roll, it seems like. These clips were never together. Just saying right now. I actually put these together to make it look like he was rolling. Watch here. I'm going to move over a little bit. He swings, and check out his movement. He swings. Batman's cape is covering him. You can't even see him. But as he swings, his momentum is going forward. And so we have a roll here. And I continued his forward momentum into a roll and to make it seem like those two clips meant to be together. But originally, those two sequences in the fight were never together. They never flowed together. I just simply noticed, hey, look at the movements of the characters. Pay special attention to that movement. Now you'll notice that I did a little bit of a TV simulator effect, but it's going down. As he's falling backwards, I have the down going with it. It's almost like a TV, like not a TV, like a machine shutting down. Our team's getting knocked backwards. It's like he's just shutting down. Alright, this isn't too important. Just saying. But you want to mix up transitions, as I've said before. Make sure you mix them up. And here is a good transition. If you want to mix up transitions, you can't really go wrong with this, using this a couple times. This is simply called a slide. Go over to it, right here, slide. You typically want to start from the sides when you're doing a slide. You don't want to start having it slide from the bottom. Like right here, it's sliding to the side. Here, see how it's horizontal? It's coming from the bottom up. You don't really want to start with going from the bottom up. I know first of all, I know I'm teaching you guys, like showing you guys a lot. I'm just showing you my thought process with this and everything. I will go into more depth with this later, but I'm just showing you the process of making the video. Okay, so basically I did a slide here. You want to make sure that you use 2 tracks. Because right here, if you don't use 2 tracks and you put them side by side, here's what happens. Black. You see that black that's slid across? No good. No good. We don't want that. So you got to make sure you have 2 tracks, put them on top of each other, and make sure that these two are in sync. These are not in sync right here. Hold on. Let me fix, there we go. All right, they're in sync. Make sure that they're in sync and make sure you use the exact same one. So if you're going to do slide in left, right, put it on both of them and make sure they're on top of each other. If you're going to use I use the slide in bottom to up, you want to make sure they're the same. That's basically it. It's good for transitions. It's good for if you want to just show like a montage kind of looking thing and you just want to show different fun gameplays and stuff. So yeah, let's move along.